Now, in just a few hours, the Central Bank of Nigeria will convene its 300th Monetary Policy Committee, that is the MPC meeting, right here in Abuja, with inflation easing to 23.71% from 24.23% in March, and food inflation also dropping to 21.26% year on year. Today's decisions could signal a shift in the policy direction. Will the MPC, led by Olayemi Kadoso, seize this opportunity to pause or adjust the benchmark interest rate, currently at 27.5%, or will structural challenges like the naira volatility and a rising energy costs keep the tightening screws on? Joining us at this moment is Dr. Aliu Alias, assistant economist, to unpack what's at stake and what we can expect. You're welcome to Business Express, Doctor.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Great. Doctor, you're not new in this terrain. We've had these conversations time and again. Now, the central bank today is actually holding its 300th monetary policy meeting. And looking at the trends of monetary policy rate, we have witnessed more increases than retention or even reduction. What is your take on the possible decisions to be taken today, more so that inflation is actually slowing at this time?
Right. I think it's a good thing that we have consistency in the meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee. Right. Based on the expectation, today we have a mixed expectation of reaction. You recall that at the 2299 meeting, it was actually put on hold. So for now, I think most Nigerians, in as much as we want it to be reduced, there's a lot of factors that may actually make them to actually want to retain what they have. Because if you look at what is happening globally, there is volatility in terms of economic, especially when you look at the trade policy because of the Trump, decisions on a lot of things. And you should also look at the oil prices. It's also not, there's volatility in that area. You also look at Forex as it is. We see hovering around 1,500 to 1,600. Then you see, go ahead and look at foreign exchange and a lot of things that we need to do. So having looked at all this, my take is that MPC will love to still retain, because we don't want to see them actually moving it upward, because moving it upward is a serious problem and it will pose more challenges to Nigeria. As it were now, it's pretty difficult for businesses to actually do business. How can you borrow money at the rate of about 30%, and how do you make a profit from that? So that has actually bring about low employment rates, low investment rate, low even innovation. So I think for now, it is better they actually retain that level.
If I'm permitted to give my own opinion from your submission, if you look at April 2025, inflation figure of 23.71% is giving Nigerians some hope. It's also giving me hope that after months of high prices, and now we're having a slowing down of this, that we're expecting Egypt to reduce by 175 basis points. China has also reduced theirs. But if you look at all of this, we can't compare our economy with China. But looking at Africa, looking at Egypt, our economy is a kind of at par at this time. If they are reducing, why can't we be circumspect to talk about a reduction despite the vagaries, talking about the global economic, the tariffs, the oil prices that are still trading below 70? Can't we see a reduction while we're looking at a retention?
Right. It will be gladdening to see reduction of at least 0.5% if we can have 27%. That's our expectation. But, in economies, don't look at absolute number. You have to look at the rate at which that number actually comes. So the decrease we see is actually marginal in nature. And it's good if we can sustain it over time to see how it actually benefits. And you cannot compare our economy to those economies. They have much more of shock absorber. In Nigeria today, a lot of things are not as it's supposed to be. As an economist, for me, I even want NPR to come down, because it's as if we are sacrificing growth because of it. Because if you actually want to have absolute or better growth, we must look at bringing down the NPR, because NPR is like a precursor, what everybody banks on. If you are bring money at 30%, how much are you going to, gain from that? So most people are actually looking at what the economy will say and how they can move forward. So for me, the best is for us to see it reduce, is to bring much more confidence. But looking at global situation now, looking at global uncertainties in terms of trade, That is oil. I'm looking at also energy costs. I'm looking at the foreign exchange. There is no sign that our MPC will want to actually reduce. Now, we are only telling them that please don't move up.
Don't take it upwards.
Exactly. It's better we leave us as we are.
If you are not going to reduce, retain it.
Exactly.
Stay as, yeah.
Right.
Well, let's look at the numbers from NBS. The National Bureau of Statistics attributes the decline, talking about inflation, partly to a base year effect from the CPI rebasing, which happened in January 2025, and lower prices for some food items. Do you see this as sustainable trend, or is it something that is temporary?
Right. For me, relating reference year to reduction in inflation, it's not what can actually add up for me at all. I want you to tell me that because of the reduction in food price, because of reduction in energy cost, that should be what should drive the reduction in inflation, not reference year 1999 compared to 2004. That's not a good excuse. So we want to see a marginal, a continuous decrease in the cost of food items, because if you look at it, the major drivers of this inflation is actually food and energy costs. So if we can do like President Bola Ahmed Tinubu actually declared state of emergency on food security, that was a good direction. However, have we seen the result? We are still hoping that we'll see the result. If we can see the result and we can see all round season farming, we can also see more production in that area. We can see more security in that area. I think by so doing, we can see that, okay, now we have a good reduction in food inflation, and that would have trickled down to the general average inflation. So for me, I don't think rebasing should have been an excuse that makes. If you rebase, that does not really translate to reduction or effect in economy. It's just the reference year that is different. The economy, the purchasing power still remain the same.
Okay, talking about handling this inflation issue, yes, the central bank has been tightening the rates over time. There is so much money out there. They said it needed to be mopped up. But now, you've mentioned earlier on, interest at 30% or more is not sustainable. Even government interventions that tends to give small businesses interest at single-digit interest rate, it's not really powering the productive sector. As an economist, what other alternative do you think should be employed to ensure that the economy gets to grow while inflation is slowing?
Right. I think the major thing we need to look at is just a macroeconomic issue. And when you look at macroeconomic issue, I would like us to actually look at foreign exchange. You know, foreign exchange is like a determinant for most things that is happening now. So everybody that is doing business, I want to do business, will happen on what? On the level of foreign exchange until we increase our productivity. And how do we increase our productivity? We can increase our productivity through giving people much more power. The small businesses, the manufacturers, let them get money at a reduction, at a reduced rate. And also our food production and general production, we must empower our manufacturers to do more in that area. That would have bring about more employment. That would bring about a better purchasing power for people. So if you look at the foreign exchange, the energy cost, which still remain the major issue, because as a manufacturer, there's no way you can run away from energy costs. But if you have a reduced energy cost, that would have solved the problem. So we should look at increase our productivity by making sure that we reduce the NPR and actually find a way to bring succor to manufacturer in this energy crisis that we are now.
Okay, talking about the Naira and its contribution and this whole mix, would you say at 1,500 to 1,600, 1,650, is that enough stability to support the economy at this time? And from all the measures that have been taken by the central bank to ensure liquidity, talking about foreign exchange, are we on the right path? What else should we be doing at this time?
Right. So getting, being at a particular, maybe 1,500 over time would have bring stability to an extent. But we want to see Naira getting more value. You know, I was thinking the trajectory that we see January, February, I was thinking it will continue like that we'll see Naira Naira to dollar getting to like 1,000. And that's the state we should be. But
remember, by the budget, we're talking about a stable 1,400.
Right.
Is that not good?
Well, that's good, but you know, it's just it's a statement, so we want to see it work. And that's why I say in economy, you don't look at the absolute value, you look at the rate at which things are getting to change. And we want to see continuous continuously reducing. So until naira getting appreciating every day, that's what will bring out the actual confidence in the economy. But as of now, there's still a lot of volatility. We may not attribute it only to local problem. We could see our global problem like the trade problem, the oil related problem, but we must find a way in Nigeria to get a good absorber to actually absorb. And CBN is at the had to actually look into that and look at other alternatives we can use to actually bring about a solution. We must make sure naira appreciate the more.
Okay, still making reference to the global disruptions. Yes, the World Bank, in its latest edition of Nigeria Development Update, projects inflation could actually average 22.1% in 2025 if the CBN keeps its tight policy, which we here are not supportive of. But what specific measures, monetary or otherwise, should complement this MPC's decision? You know, we've always said there is need for a handshake between fiscal policy and monetary policy. How is that going in your own take?
Right, I think that's the major thing, and we must not stop at fiscal and monetary. We must also bring trade policy into it. You know, there must be a good understanding of their purpose, because when you have a good purpose, monetary policies cannot be working things out, and fiscal policy will be, you know, eroding that. So they must come together to make sure that we have a very positive. Because look, if you look at things now, not as much as monetary policy is also trying, we also see fiscal policy increasing trade tariff and a lot of, so they must come together. And when we talk about trade is the major thing that we're looking at. If you look at the global policy, it's actually affecting our trade the more, and it will trickle down to what we decision of monetary policy and fiscal policy will be. And that's why we must also look at that trade policy. The global disruption that is happening now, or the global uncertainty rather that is happening now, is form of is challenges of trade policy that we must find a way to actually balance it. If we cannot have this trade partner here, we can also look at the other side. So we must part time look for alternatives to actually trade with, and how we can get a balance of trade and balance of payments in our trade policies.
I agree with you quite well. The trade policies might not that be beneficial to Nigeria or Africa, but with all of this, yes, we are beginning to look out for new partners that will favor our trade policies and investment policies. But how well are we doing looking inwards, talking about the African continental market, just on a wrap?
Right, I think it's a good one. Like we always said, it is good to identify with African trade area. But the thing is, we must not also allow our country to be a dumping ground. So we must stand our feet and know that this is what we actually want, this is what we don't want. Because if you allow everything to come into your country, that simply means your infant industry will not have opportunity to grow. So we must start to consider, not only now, we must also be, you know, meticulous about what happened after any policy we agreed upon globally.
Thank you very much, Dr. Elias, for your contributions at this point in time.
Thank you for having me.